My mom used to hide under my bed at night. I was born in 2000 and grew up in a small town in northeast Ohio in a cheap ranch house that smelled of lemon cleaner and old wood. It was just me and her for most of my life. The whole house lived on one floor. The living room that stayed dim in winter, a narrow hallway, 3 bedrooms. My dad left when I was a baby. She waited tables downtown, came home with grease on her palms and the ache of standing in her jaw. Tired, but always kind. She'd tuck me in, kiss my forehead, tell me she loved me. I felt safe, except at bedtime. The first time I noticed it, I must have been 6, maybe 7. She turned off the lamp and the hall light went out, the house settling into its winter hush. I remember the cotton smell from my stuffed rabbit, the way the blanket creased on my knees. Then the floorboard just to the left of my bed. Creak, like someone eased themselves down too carefully. I thought she'd come back in. The sound was wrong for the hallway. It was under the bed. I froze. There was slow, wet. Close enough to feel like a draft. I leaned over the edge and, "Mom?" No answer. Just a small hi that made my neck prickle. Not playful, not mean, just not right. She crawled out like it was ordinary, settled at the foot of the bed without turning on a light, and told me to sleep. In the morning she was warm and normal. Cereal clinks in bowls, hair in a messy knot. I told myself I'd imagined it. Kids do. Then it happened again, and again. The routine arranged itself around lights out. She'd tuck me in, kiss me, and the house would go quiet while she went under the bed. The sound of her crawling, the scuff of jeans, a soft rustle like a jacket became a part of the night. She'd tap on the slats in rhythms that sometimes felt like nonsense and sometimes like a lullaby. 3 taps, then 2, then 4. If I shifted, she would stop until I lay very still. Sometimes I could see one eye at the foot of the bed, a shape of her face caught in the hallway's dim glow. Always watching. Always the same, soft. At first, I thought it was a game, a weird secret we shared, but the game had rules that weren't for me. If I tried to leave the bed, her hand would clamp around my ankle, not hard, only enough to pin me, and the fingers would be cool and oddly urgent. Once she whispered something under her breath in a voice I didn't recognize, like a language I'd half learned in a dream. It's thickened into listening. I learned every creak, every neighbor's car passing on the street, measuring the distance between safe and unsafe. I stopped sleeping well. I slept on the couch when I could. I learned to hold my breath on the off chance whatever she was keeping out would notice me moving. Never told anyone. How do you explain that your mother goes under your bed to breathe? Who would believe a child? During the day, she was only my mom. School lunches, homework, kissing scraped knees, her blue-gray eyes were always bright in the morning. I tried to ask once, when I was 10 awkward clumsy, and she smiles like I'd asked what color the sky was. Oh, buddy, I don't do that. You must be having silly dreams. That night, the tap was louder. At 11, she gave me a lock for my door. "You're old enough now," she said. For the first time in years, she didn't come in. I cried once, under blankets, because the absence felt like a punch you could breathe through. She slept in her chair in the living room. Turner's newscast, like she'd shifted some part of the night away. I didn't ask how or why. I wanted to trust her denials as cleanly as her daytime smiles. It wasn't macabre spectacles every night. Sometimes she stayed out, and the house was only empty in the ordinary sense of two people in separate rooms. Sometimes the tapping turned into low words I could not parse, and once I thought I heard another voice answer from below, older than the floorboards. I listened until morning, and then let myself fill with school and friends and the small, ordinary chores that distracted. Years stacked, she grew thinner. When I was 23, they told me she'd have to stop working. They told me cancer like it was a thing you could label and manage. I sat with her through chemo, through the small, shrinking rooms of hospitals. In the hospital, they cleaned the creaky house from my memory. Her hands shook, and sometimes she didn't know where she was, and other times she would hold my wrist and like she'd been waiting for me. The night before she went, she gripped my wrist in a way that was far too strong for the wisps of her left. In the fluorescent hush, she said, in a voice sharpened by some clarity medication could not claim, "I kept you safe, you know. You were never alone at night." That line sat in me like a stone. It was comfort and accusation at once. I wanted to ask what she had been keeping at bay. I wanted to know if the tapping had been a warning system or a ward or a kind of company she kept with her hands under the mattress. Instead, I watched the light in her eyes slide away, and the hospital smelled like lemon cleaner gone wrong. After the funeral, I went back to the house to clear things out. Momentum takes everything in its path, even secrets. Her bedroom was just a room. Her mattress had a sunken oval where she slept. Under the frame, the dust lay like old letters. I knelt and peered with a flashlight because some part of me hoped for an explanation I could hold in my hands. A note, a jar of pennies, a child's drawing pinned to the underside of the bed. There were only the rub marks where knees had pressed into wood, and a faint impression in the dirt that looked like the outline of a body curled small. No coins, no notes, just the scent of her lotion and the stale, patient dark. I moved away, carried boxes, sold the house. In my apartment now, the windows rattle against winter wind like a small, anxious heartbeat. I lock the door every night. Sometimes, when the lights go off and the street is quiet, I think I hear 3, 2, 4, like someone else once used to call a lullaby. I wake stiff and listen for the softest breath against the mattress, the ghost of a hand on my ankle that never quite closes. I tell myself it was a kindness. She was protecting me from whatever sat in the wood and breathed in the dark. I tell myself it was a compulsion born of something she could not name. I tell myself 100 rational things, and none of them fit into the hollow she left behind. The house sold. The bones of it are probably plank and paint under someone else's life now. But some nights, the idea that she stayed under my bed to keep me from becoming something over scares me as much as the idea that she was keeping something down there at all. When I think of her, I see her smiling at the foot of the bed, one eye catching the hall light to whatever lived beneath the mattress. I still don't understand what she meant.